Tell me what the hell are you scared of when in the end the only
Where's the love? Right here on this podcast. Welcome to Love Drops, where your hosts and One Love ambassadors, Charles and Diane, will share love, hope, and inspirational topics taken from their journey and world events. We will also include on location recordings and special pop up guests from cool places all around the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
whether big or small, love never fails. Oh, love it conquers all. Love never fails.
Welcome to the Love Drops podcast. We're doing something new today. We're having a father-daughter team on our show, and we'll get right into that. Diane, please introduce our guests to our listeners.
Thank you, Charles. Today we have return guest Tom Dahlborg with his daughter Sammy, and we are so excited to jump into our discussion. We're talking about bullying. It's a big thing, and they are both advocates, and our topic is going to be Don't Bully Me. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Sammy and allow her to just introduce herself to you, and then we'll bring in Tom. So, Sammy, you have the mic.
Hi, thank you so much for having me and my dad on the show. I'm so excited. But yeah, my name is Sammy, Sam, Samantha, all good. And I am a mom of twin girls. That's my latest venture. And I recently moved to Nashville from the Boston and New England area. And what's kind of exciting is my parents moved 5 minutes down the road. So they're now here too. And I'm sure dad will touch on that. But I am a former Miss Maine USA pageant girl, dancer, graphic designer, painter, just all around creative girl. And a lot of that, kind of stems from in my lifetime being bullied at all different stages of my life and having an outlet to go to, whether it was dance or painting, drawing, writing, whatever it might be. And the pageantry came from finding confidence in myself. So I could deep dive on that forever and ever and ever, but that's kind of who I am in a quick nutshell. But I'm excited to speak more on that and also have a conversation with dad and the projects that we've done together, just based on our family's relationships with bullying and friends and family and just our lives, how they've crisscrossed together. So we have a few things that are coming up soon about, just being a light and being inspiration for people. And it has to do with adults and kids. So it's been really, really cool working with dad on that, bringing my creativity to his work, brilliant work. So Dad, I'm going to give you the mic for a sec.
Thank you, Sammy, and thank you, Diane and Charles. It's always a pleasure to be here. And as I was thinking about our time together, and this is my return appearance, and which is, again, another blessing. Our first discussion just touched my heart. I think about Maya Angelou and her quote, "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." And one of the things that Sammy and I do together is we tell stories. And often those stories are our families, but we also share others' stories with their permission, of course. And those stories touch people. They allow people to feel maybe something they hadn't felt if they hadn't addressed that younger version of themselves. And then telling that story helps them to do so. I remember years ago when Sammy was part of the pageant, the Miss Maine pageant, she had a self-confidence project, and perhaps she'll share more about that. And it was about, as I looked at it, storytelling, and storytelling in words and in pictures and in presence. And so she's absolutely right. We do a lot together, and she is such a blessing to me, as you two are to this world and all you do with Love Drops and sharing love around the world. And we're just grateful to be here today to continue to spread the word around bullying and providing supports. And so, again, just a gift today to be together.
Awesome. I agree with you, Tom. And I also think that this is definitely a big topic. So I'm glad that we're bringing light and love drops and confidence into the topic of bullying.
Yes, that's a lot where that's concerned. And so many kids and young adults They hold it inside. They don't have an outlet and they don't want to talk about it. They don't document it. They don't record it, and they suffer in silence.
And they suffer in silence. And so that is our hope with the show today, is to talk about, let's talk about it. And not only just talk about it, but let's also leave tools and things to consider to help those. So I want to turn it over to you, Sammy, because, in your history bio, you were very modest. You've been in some big spaces, and have done some really big things. So that confidence builder in that 2014 pageant, I'm going to say, was successful. I mean, from there, you have done Fashion Week, you've been in Paris, you've taken photographs. I mean, it has opened the door for you to be in really big spaces. And so it's a beautiful thing. But let's talk about just the root of what activated that confidence, leap. Let's talk about the bullying.
Oh, goodness. I feel like as I get older, I'm 32 now. So I feel like in my long old age here, every year I feel like I get more and more just knowledgeable and wise about how to live my life and what actually matters. And I feel like a lot of it I maybe wouldn't have even thought about unless I had these experiences when I was little. So I think it really started when kind of like middle school, high school, when girls are trying to figure out the hierarchy and trying to figure out like who's who's crushing on the boy and who's going to be on the team or whatever it might be. So high school, I had a lot of instances where girls that I thought were my friends or my teammates or my coworkers actually were pretty vicious and would rip my time card at work or hole punch it so you couldn't even read it. They would steal my tips. I worked at an ice cream shop. Just so many different little things, big things, social media as well. Facebook had just kind of come out, or I just got one. And of course, back then, or like when you're younger, you think that, your social footprint doesn't exist. But back then I said some things I probably shouldn't have, and so did the other girls. And that was pretty traumatic for me as well. And just, I think there's been little instances even after the pageant. Once I decided I wanted to do the pageant and I put 200% into it and I won and I went to Miss USA. Even after that, I had gotten a letter in the mail from girls who did like a ransom style letter. And there was pictures of me that they printed out from Miss USA and said these awful things. I never got to see the letter because mom and dad protected me from that. And they told me what was in it and told me what was going on. But even after that, after a really big personal win in my life, they were still trying to attack me and bring me down. So I just think all of those instances kind of balled up into one. And I was like using them as fuel for a long time of look at me do this, like watch me, I'm going to do it. And then after that, it was kind of like, you know what? I don't really need your fuel anymore. I'm doing this for myself. And that's kind of where it changed for me too. So like I said in the beginning, I've always been a very creative person. It's always kind of been my outlet, whether it was dance or drawing, photography also. I've had a camera in my hand since I was like basically born. And that's one of the things that I've taken into my adult life is taking photos. And I did weddings for a while. But one thing that like I keep going back to is photographing girls and young women and moms. And I just feel like women are so special. And obviously experiencing what I experienced, I know when I go on set with these women that I can make them feel seen and loved and heard, and subconsciously, or, I almost picture myself in them. Like, how would you want to feel right now? And it's been so magical and so fun. And like you said, I've gone to fashion weeks. I was just in Paris earlier this month. I'm going back again in July, but just through the pageant world and through meeting these girls that just want to be seen and have a cool experience and have their picture taken, I feel like I'm really making an impact in the world. So it's really fulfilling to me. And I think also having now twin girls, I think about, okay, what do I want to do for them to protect them? And if I can't protect them, then like, how can I be a resource for them and be an example for them? So having those experiences when I was little has really transformed me and given me this wisdom to like be the woman I am now. And I'm sure I can be better. I'm going to be better, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That is awesome. That is really, really a beautiful tribute, to self. And I think what I really resonated with is that you took your pain and you transformed it into power to push ahead, not only for you, but for other young girls. And so you're beautiful. And I mean, like, if anyone, just looks at the thumbnail, they'll see your image and you're beautiful, even here on screen. And you're beautiful from inside. Yes, outwardly, I see your beauty, but you're beautiful from inside. And I say that because of the things that you are doing, because of the platforms that you're standing on. I mean, you could have went a whole different way because sometimes bullies bully. So you could have, become a fierce, mean girl, with that power. And I'm so thankful that you didn't. And so I'm going to pass it over to your dad, and Tom, jump in.
First of all, I'm so proud of my daughter for what she's been through and what she's accomplished. And she's relied on family. She's relied on God. She's relied on love, and now the love of her husband, of course, and her babies, her children. And it's just incredible to see her grow and mature. And yes, she's 30 plus. She's doing all these amazing things. And yet, as I mentioned earlier, she was helping other children, other people many, many, many years ago. A lot younger, perhaps, than one would think. Someone would find that profound knowledge and that profound love for another person to actually go above and beyond, even as they're being abused, they're being bullied, as they're being harmed, to be able to give of self and help others see the light, God's light within them. It's just incredible, Diane and Charles, to witness what Sammy is and what she's always been, and how she continues to, as she said, grow and mature like we all do and make a difference. So it's just, and so now being here today, hearing Sammy talk about that, I talk about it, but to hear her say it herself, my heart's just swelling.
Yes, yes.
Well, Tom, you planted some very, very deep seeds in Sam. And all that she was reflecting and sharing, none of it was negative. She took a positive curve on everything that's negative and made it positive in and through herself. Tom, you did a fantastic job. Sammy, you did a very positive job.
You're very kind, Charles, and I'll say two things. One is all glory to God, and number two, my bride is absolutely incredible, and she is really the glue and the heart of our family. So I do appreciate your feedback, and absolutely God and my bride and our entire family. The love that's shared, it's not always easy. It's not always clean. It's not always this panacea of love, and yet it's real and it's raw. Yeah. And it's true caring.
Yes. And it's family. That is family. That is family. And I just want to circle back just for a moment. So Sammy gets after the 2014 pageant, and this is a huge win. So she's like on cloud number probably 19, right? And then she gets this, really, it's hate mail is what it is, with, this letter and this meanness to it. So just walk us through that a little bit as a parent.
Now, I may not recall the timing specifically, but as far as chronological order, but I do remember a time we were going to IHOP, I believe, International House of Pancakes, and part of this was bubbling up. I think literally as we're walking in, and my bride and I, who we're partners, and we're struggling with it. And I say in my book, and I say when I'm on stage, we've made every mistake possible. We know things now because we didn't know things then. And I remember at one point, and Sammy, maybe you remember this as well, one quick tangent, in healthcare and educational systems and in business, there are terms, there's an organization called high reliability organizations. These are organizations that you can rely on, that are going to deliver consistently. One of the tenets of an HRO, high reliability organization, is defer to the experts. And so here's my bride is Darlene. I call her Doc. Here's Doc and I, and we're struggling. And I happen to have a quality improvement background, and I'm thinking about HROs. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, defer to the experts. Kristen Sunata, who is the creator of the Mental Health News Radio Network, she and I happened to connect some years prior, and we reached out to her. And if I recall correctly, Sammy, but please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we created a bridge and you actually spoke to Kristen directly. Was that true? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that, if you recall it, that discussion with Kristen?
Yeah, I don't know if this is where you're gonna go, but I remember so Kristen was great and she had a podcast network, and I wanted to create my own podcast at one point. So we did that. And before, I think it was before I even created my own, though, I had an episode with her and we had talked about bullying and a few different topics and stuff. And soon after, I forget how we got a message. I think the person might have messaged Kristen, but it was one of my former like bullies and someone I hadn't even thought of. Honestly, like I told you, like I had shifted my mindset to just like not even think about them anymore. So like Whiplash came back and wrote this long message about shaming my character and who I was and all these things to Kristen, and Kristen immediately shut it down. But I was like, oh my God, they came back out of the woodwork. What the heck? So is that where you're going, Dad, with that? Like they came back then too?
Exactly. And she provided Doc and I, my bride and I, with wisdom on how to manage the situation and what to share and what not to share with Sammy and all of those different things. And also support for Sammy as well. And really, like you said, Sammy, shut it down. She did not fan any of it. She did not allow it to continue. She knew where it was coming from. She has a mental health background and some of those, and she had that wisdom to bring to the table. So, long story short, Diane and Charles, I would say to folks, defer to the experts. When our son Tommy was being bullied, was being abused, same type of thing, I deferred to the experts because we were making every mistake, as I noted, possible, learning from it, but still making mistakes, making things worse. And so we continuously reached out to those experts that understand what's truly happening. And we gained wisdom. Our son Tommy was bullied predominantly by adults, which we thought we were the worst parents ever to allow this to happen. And then we found out from the experts it's not an aberration. Almost half of children are bullied by coaches, and I could give you lots and lots of stats. And so we got to learn from that and allow that to inform and feed us so that we could improve as parents, improve as people that love other people, and then take that wisdom and our own learnings and try to help others.
Wow. And that is very interesting about children being bullied by adults. I mean, we're going through that with my grandson right now. We just had an incident this past week where one of his teachers was, I had him in line and she kind of ridiculed him in front of the class. And the teacher started this whole laughing thing at my grandson with the class. So she's laughing, the class is laughing. And, it takes a village. It takes a village truly. And I'm so proud of my daughter because she uses her village. So I happen to be fortunate to get on that conference call. We met with the teacher, just last week, and I listened in and we, just all sat down, and the teacher did apologize, but I made it a point to say, hey, the kids are coming to school. This is supposed to be a safe zone. Kids bully kids. So then if the teacher gets involved, that is traumatic. And I just thought that that was just unthinkable. That was just really unthinkable. But again, it goes back. It takes a village. So I love how you and your wife brought others into it. And then now you and Sammy are building that village. So you are becoming the village for others that, are experiencing bullying. You guys are becoming the experts through experience. So let's pivot to that. Let's pivot to the projects that we're doing, the self-confidence project. Sammy, we can start there and just pivot over.
Yeah, I'll talk about a few things, then Dad will talk. But yeah, when Dad mentioned that when I was like, I don't know, 13, 14, 15, whenever I got my first camera, I had started the confidence project. I hadn't even thought about doing the pageant yet. Like it wasn't for performance. Like I literally just wanted to help the girls in my area. It was a free photo shoot and I got to know them and put it on a website and took photos and it was a whole thing. And I feel like I joke and I say I have like a team now, like an assistant and a makeup artist and all these people I work with consistently. And I joke and I say like what we do now is like the older version of the confidence project. Like it doesn't have a name anymore, but like what we do and how we live it in our why is literally the confidence project. So I think that's so funny. And Dad is always and Mom has always supported me in that and helped me with the gear and make sure I'm all set to go. And that's been really, really fun. So that was what the confidence project was. But besides like taking photographs, I also am like an artist with my hands, like to color, draw things. And now with technology, I have an iPad and I've been messing around on there for the last couple of years with illustrations and, instead of real people, now we're drawing fake real people. So, and when Dad was writing a book, which he'll talk about in a second, we decided we're going to collaborate and he would write the book and I would help him with the illustration. So we've created different characters and different themes. And it's been really fun because I can, be a part of this message and the love and the light and also still do what I like to do. So that's been really, really fun. And it's been in the works for a few years because I got pregnant with the twins and then we moved and a few things have happened, but it's coming. We're almost done with it. And I think it's looking pretty good and it's sounding pretty good. So Dad, if you want to dive into that.
Awesome.
I love the segue. I do want to dive into that. And before we do that, though, I just want to reference Diane and Charles, your experience with your grandchild. As we found out, it's not an aberration. I think the stat is 37% of children are bullied by teachers. It's unconscionable. And so we need to do far better. And you used the term trauma, and you're so spot on, Diane. You may have heard the term ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences. Those are traumatic events occurring to a child before the age of 18. And they include abuse and neglect. They include a parent that may have mental illness or substance use. They include divorce or death of the parent, incarceration, domestic violence, those types of things. And when those occur and that child experiences that trauma before the age of 18, it not only has the adverse impact at that moment, but it leads to everything from, and this is what the research shows, everything from depression, anxiety, OCD. It leads to their own substance use challenges. It leads to, long story short, early death. And so ACEs is huge, is significant. And the CDC back in 2017 defined bullying, a child experiencing being bullied, and also a child who may not be the person being bullied, but witnessing it as an ACE. That is how critical, that is how the science and the research is caught up to understand the power, the adverse, the negative power of bullying. And so it's significant. And so you're spot on that you called it a trauma, a traumatic event, and we can do far better. And you're right. That's what Sammy and I and Tommy and I and our entire family have been trying to do. So Sammy's referring to a book we have coming out, actually a book series, a children's book series called The Light. And it's going to have multiple aspects to it. It's a picture book. First book in that series is The Light Gifts. And it's talking about the gifts that God has instilled within each of us, within each of our children. And it's really, again, going back to the quote from Maya Angelou, it's telling a story. It's telling a story of a child who has been bullied, who actually, in this particular case, has a coach that's supportive and loving, is learning and going on this journey. It's a story to help children and parents reading to their child to really understand that, help them find agency, to find their own voice, to learn to love themselves and knowing that God lives within them. That's the light within them. And so, quite frankly, initially when Sammy and I started this, it was not faith-based. It was more research, science, this based. And we've, as she noted, we've gone on our own faith journey, and we've always been faithful, but less so and then more so. And so we rediscovered our faith over the last few years. And so Sammy and I had this meeting and we took a step back and we said, no, what we're putting out here is wrong. This is not helpful for this time period. What we need to do is basically not scrap the entirety, but to move it to the side, as you said at the beginning, Diane and Charles, really connect from our hearts and really connect from our souls and really bring forth the importance of God in our life and faith in our life and the importance of God and faith in a child's life and a family's life to help tell that story and help people and children work through some of these challenges, some of these traumatic events. So as I mentioned, the first book in the series is about bullying. Then we're going to move into everything from the loss of a pet or drug addiction or substance use disorder and those types of things. So heavy subjects, but delivered in a faithful way, and so that the parent and the child or the guardian and the child can have the right conversations at the right time and better position them on their life journey.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And as you were talking, Tom, something activated in me when you were talking about ACEs, right? And just talking about the child being bullied and the child watching, the child that's witnessing, right? And when you said that, something just kind of clicked inside. And what it was is that is how enablers are created, because I was the child that a lot of times would witness. And so then I would just kind of want to put myself in between or go sit with the person that was being ostracized. I never wanted to be like in that in crowd with the popular. I went to my own tune. So whether invited or not, and if I went in a lunchroom, then I would go to the person that was over there by themselves. And it's still like that to this day. You know, even where we are right now in the DR, the condo we're staying, there's a concierge. And so there's a lady that we see, because it's like 24 hours, so it switches. But there's a lady we see, and she just has like this grim face, and she really doesn't connect. And so your first thought is like, oh, what is wrong with her? Everybody's friendly. And I'm keep it 100. I had that thought. I was like, oh boy, she's hard, because you'd say hi. And sometimes she'd say hi back, and, like, I don't hear you. So probably a few days ago, now, mind you, we've been here 3 weeks. This is the fourth week here. So probably about 3 days ago, see her, and I stop and I said, what's your name? Kind of like in Spanish. And so she says her name. I tell her our names. And then I'm like, hola, Giselle. And she just lit up. Like, she just lit up. And so it goes back to what Sammy was saying when she said to let people know, I see you. Like, I see you. Sometimes, you don't know what a person's going through or what they've been through. And so from that day, now every time we go out and, she's at the desk, hola, Giselle, face just, hola, and she just,
Aw.
she speaks, right? But it's effort is what I'm getting at. It's in making the effort, because yeah, we got to that beautiful moment, but I understand, like I said, I'm human, because initially I was like, what's wrong with this chick? What's going on? What's her deal? Right. And I think this discussion kind of points to everyone that's listening. We all can do our part. And it starts with seeing what is going on. So many times we just say, well, it's not me. That doesn't affect me. I don't want to get in it. That's not my business, not my puzzle. We all have a responsibility, because when we ignore what is happening around us, eventually we're calling it to us, and it might not come to us. It can come to our children or what. So you have to see it and respond to it initially, just with love, just with presence, just with kindness. I'm not saying stand in front of the bus and get ran over, but I'm saying do something. And even if you can't help, get help. If we live in a world now where someone can see someone getting beat up, and instead of stepping in, they're pulling out the camera to make it go viral.
Hmm.
Wow. And that's a big thing within itself. Circling back about bullying, I was bullied in school as a child, and I didn't know it. I didn't know I was being bullied. The teacher was bullying me, and I was asking the teacher, oh, is this how you were trained to be a teacher? And my innocence in asking that, oh, I was being a smart aleck or something. I said, no, I just wanted to know. Say, because you're telling me this and you're telling me that, and I'm getting all good marks, and I want to be a teacher. And I just wanted to know. So she took it. I didn't have enough smarts as a kid to know that. But from the innocent thing of a child, I think I had a grave impact on that teacher, because she saw that I didn't know what I was doing, but I was really getting to her and helping. And also, something that you just said, Tom, on the different subject matter to help the individual build their confidence. It's so gravely needed. Some need more of one subject than another, but they're getting it all. They're getting the whole enchilada, if you will. And that'll help build their confidence all over.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And again, I love we're basically all sharing stories, right? And so when we think about everyone wants the easy button. Well, let's fix bullying. Let's hit that button. This person bullies because of this. Let's hit that button. That's the solution. And yet, Diane and Charles, to your points, and Sammy, as you've lived it on both sides, being bullied and also helping people who have been bullied, there's another term, it's called positive childhood experiences, or PCES. And this is where, when I look at that and I think, okay, so what is the crux of it? It's love. It's love. What the research has found is we can talk about all these different tactics and tools around stopping bullying and addressing ACEs. And yet at the end of the day, it's love. And I'm going to define it based on how they define positive childhood experiences. It's about ensuring that children, and quite frankly, all of us, we feel safe and protected. For a child, feel safe and protected by an adult in the home. That is one of the number one things we can do to address all ACEs, including a child that's being bullied. Number two is the ability to talk with our family, however we define family, with our family about our feelings, to tell our stories. Charles, what you just did, to how you were feeling and you didn't even realize it was that naivete, and that to be able to talk about that. There are many families that don't have that. And that means as a parent, we haven't done our own work to position ourselves to address some of the maybe the ACEs that we've had in our own lives, the traumas we've had in our own lives. So we have a lot of work to do. There's that, Diane, what you had said, and Sammy, of course, that feeling of belonging when we're into school. You know, if school is now the enemy territory and we have all that cortisol in our system as we're walking through that door, that doesn't help anyone, and again can lead to incredible harm. It's the support and love of friends. So having someone who truly loves us and the opportunity to love others, it's huge. And then the last one they define within the PCES space, the positive childhood experiences space, is for a child to have two non-parent adults who truly love them, who truly care. That's the power of coaching. That's the power of a teacher. If we choose to embrace it and bring that love and light of God to it, we can truly position these children to have incredibly healthy mental, emotional, spiritual, physical lives going forward. And again, when I see Sammy and I hear the stories that she shares and I see her in action, I see the light of these children and now adult women that she's taking these pictures and you can see the light coming through. Well, it's not just physical beauty. As you said, Diane, earlier, she's actually bringing out that light of God, that beauty there from within to show to the world. And it's just absolutely incredible. And so again, as you all have said, I love how we're sharing stories. It's all of us sharing our story and loving on one another. At the end
Yes.
of the day, that's the solution. And again, I have tools and tactics and they're helpful and they do great things because I've learned from experts. But at the end of the day, if I had to say what it's all about, that's what it's all about.
I love it. I love it. And I love how you put love at the forefront. So we're wrapping it around. We could talk and talk and talk. And we are going to come back again, Tom, with you in our next season in the future. And we'll have your son, Tommy, with you. We're missing him today, but, we do understand. We want to give a shout out to Tommy on the podcast today. And we look forward to, having a part two. Sammy, this was, just really impressed on my heart. And I was going to try to ignore it, but I can't. And that is this. What would you say to that teenage girl that's in middle school, that's in high school, and she may be dealing with a bullying situation, and I'm gonna double down. She may be the bully.
Ooh. Oh boy. Okay. I feel like my answer for this has changed over the years. But I think even if it's the bully, we know why bullies are bullies. I think if we could find something that we love to do, that brings out, I think, the love and the light in ourselves, whether it's reading, riding a bike, drawing, playing, whatever it is. I think you kind of reconnect with yourself and remember like who you are and why you're here and what you're doing. Even if you're the bully and you're having the worst day ever and you're projecting all of your negativity on someone, you have something that you like to do or be. And I think just making time to do that kind of help you reconnect with like who you truly are, and the love will I hope and I think will eventually shine through. So if you're the bully or if you are being bullied, remember like what makes you you and what makes you feel good and shine and have that light love glow. And as you're doing that, I feel like you're going to make a positive difference in the world. So
Awesome. Awesome. And then, Tom, as the parent, what can you possibly give as a love drop to parents to kind of recognize and check in, with their children to just make sure everything is okay? Because, like you said, sometimes we get it wrong. You learn from your mistakes. So, what would you say as a love drop to parents out there as far as checking in?
Sure. No, I thought about this a great deal. As you know, we lived it. In our family, with what happened with our child, with Tommy, who we'll talk about more in the future, we actually used basketball as a tool to help him learn to love himself, to help him learn to love his body, because he was bullied because he was a big kid, hence the title of our book, The Big Kid in Basketball, and the lessons he taught his father and coach. One of those lessons I learned was, and this goes back, Diane, to what you said earlier, there's a term in basketball, and I'm sure it's elsewhere. It's keep your head on a swivel. Awesome. I can see you pointing to Charles. Charles knows. In basketball, what it means is if I'm playing defense, the person I'm covering, and say that person doesn't have the ball, I need my head on a swivel because I have to cover my man, but I also have to see what's happening with my teammates and how they're covering. I got to find out where the ball is. I need to know where the hoop is. I need to know what the shot clock, the whole game. That's in basketball, keeping your head on a swivel. It's protecting your teammates. What I would say to parents, and what I do say to parents, is we need to keep our heads on a swivel. We need to protect our children. We need to protect other people's children. We need to ensure that our head is on a swivel, that we're looking out for the entirety of the community and beyond, because it can't just be about me and mine. It has to be about ours together, a collective. And so that would be the love drop, is not only love yourself. Gail Sayers wrote the book, I Am Third. It's God first, then family, then self. So not only love God, not only love family and self, but love the community, love all that around you. And as you said, Diane, step up, be present. Too many children, especially, but adults as well, are being harmed now, perhaps more than ever. It seems that way. And yet together, if we're loving on everyone, we can make the difference. So keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
And continue to communicate with each other as we talk with each other and not at each other.
Yes, absolutely. That communication piece is so critical throughout the entirety of the process. You're absolutely right. And again, if you don't mind me saying, that's another thing I love about Samantha. When she's working with these young women, when she's working with everyone, when she's connecting with people, it's the smile. It's that light that comes through. And Sammy, I thought you were going to go here with the question from Diane. It's everything you said, and yet you're also this incredible listener. You listen. So that part of communication. And Sammy doesn't just listen to respond, and she doesn't just listen because, I forget some of the consulting phraseology. Sammy listens because she truly cares. And that comes through. And when people know that you care, lives change.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we are going to get ready to sign off. So, Sammy, we'll go with you, and then you can pass to your dad. Any final words? We've really enjoyed having you. We really have, and we
Yes.
would love to have you back again. We had you with Dad, and I'd love to really bring you back on the show because there's just so much more to go in just for young girls. I have granddaughters, and I just love to bring you back in and get more of your nuggets.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me and my dad on. It's always so special to connect with dad, but also share our stories with others as well who are just as passionate about no bullying and love and all of the things we talked about today. And even when we first started talking, I kind of teared up a little bit because as we were all just speaking on it, it really hit my heart again, like why I do the things that I do. And like sometimes I forget day to day just doing the things that I'm doing, but like remembering why the heck I'm doing this and why it matters. So that was really special for me today. So I really appreciate you guys having me on and my dad, and I can't wait to come back. So thank you for having me.
And Tom, just thank you before you even start. Thank you so much, not only for just showing up here. Let's not get emotional, but Tom, I just thank you for showing up. Like, you not only shine the spotlight in my life, but everyone around you, you're seen because of the light of God that you carry,
Mm.
and you broadcast it unapologetically, authentically, and with love. It's no faking it. There is no faking it. It's true. You feel it. You feel it. So I thank you for every time you've said my name. It's only been like 6 months. Every time you've spoken my name, every time you've shined your light, I thank you for that. I thank you for seeing me, and I thank you for being here. Thank you.
These past 6 months is just, every time we have shared and connected here on the podcast and elsewhere, it's just filled my heart. And as we have been speaking today, a verse from the Bible comes up, and I'm just going to paraphrase a short piece of it, which is, carry your cross and follow me. And I think about going back to Sammy and early on when she was helping other children, as she was being harmed, she was carrying her cross and using that, and still does to this day, to help others. And I know, Diane and Charles, you've been through a lot, and you carry your cross and you're sharing love throughout the world. And I feel incredibly blessed to be part of these discussions and to share and learn with you all and to share love together.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Tom.
Thank
That's
you.
very meaningful. It touches my heart because we know there's someone bigger than man that's doing all of these things for us. To do is let him into our hearts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us today. It's such a blessing.
Thank you as well. And to our listeners, we're going to put resources in the narrative here where you can check out both Tom and Sammy and all the amazing things that they're doing in the world. They're not just talking the talk, they are walking the walk, and there will be ways that you can support. And when that book comes out, I believe that it will definitely be such a useful tool and helpful. So, yes, do connect with them. Thank you guys for hanging in with us. Do share the episode and, subscribe and share if it resonates. And until next time, Charles and I sign off with one love.
Never a second will I waste. Never an opportunity to taste the sweetness of this life.
Thank you for tuning in to the Love Drops podcast. Be sure to follow this podcast and share the love with everyone you know. Until next time, this is Charles and Diane signing off. One love. One love.
Love it conquers all, whether big or small. Love never fails. Oh, love it conquers all. Love never